Gaza bombarded and without electricity, Israel under rocket attack as fighting claims over 2,200 lives on both sides.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warns against Israel and Ukraine competing for Western military support following a meeting with Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo.
Afghanistan's Herat province has been hit by a second strong earthquake within the space of a few days, with 130 reported injured in the latest tremor. Bombed from above, hemmed in by the sea, there's no escape for residents of Gaza, a city under siege. The only power station is out of fuel and has closed down. The United Nations says 11 of its workers have died in Gaza. As Israel's airstrikes exact revenge over Sunday morning's terror attacks by Hamas. The Palestinian Health Ministry reports 1,050 people have been killed in the city. On the other side of the divide in Israel, pedestrians caught out on the street as rockets hit Ashkelon, cower by a wall, waiting and hoping for the all clear as air defences try to eliminate the threat. The Israeli military says 1,200 people have died in Israel. In the north of Israel, sporadic shelling and artillery exchanges with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israel's ruling party and the opposition have formed a unity government for the duration of the hostilities. A minute's silence marked in Brussels and other European cities. A moment of respect for the victims of the Hamas attack in Israel on October the 7th.
We are here with the President of the European Council, the President of the European Commission, and all of you as one to express our solidarity, to condemn the appalling acts of terror and murder, and to demand the immediate release of hostages.
Tout doit être fait pour permettre d'éviter la situation d'escalade au Moyen-Orient, protéger les civils, éviter l'embrasement du Moyen-Orient. Ces attaques injustifiables, terroristes du Hamas ne doivent pas nous détourner de la recherche d'une paix durable et d'une résolution politique des conflits.
The French government not only wants to avoid an escalation in the Middle East, it also wants to prevent the conflict from being imported into France. 50 anti-Semitic acts have been committed since the weekend. The Turkish president has called on America and European nations to take a balanced approach to the conflict.
Gazze'ye yönelik orantısız ve her türlü ahlaki temelden yoksun saldırıları dünya kamuoyu nezdinde İsrail'i hiç beklemediği ve istenmeyen bir konuma itebilir.
Across the world, thousands have gathered at vigils to show their support for Palestinians and Israelis.
Following his visit at NATO's headquarters in the morning, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky crossed Brussels on Wednesday for a bilateral meeting with Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo. Belgium, already providing pilot training and maintenance of F-16s, pledged the supply of these fighter jets as of 2025. Speaking at a press conference after the meeting, Zelensky warned against Israel and Ukraine competing for Western military support. He says that such a situation would only benefit Russia.
Of course, it's a dangerous situation for people. First of all, for people in Ukraine. I'm honest with you, and the same I do with our partners. My question was that will your support be less than now? Even now, during the election period in the United States, you see the challenges, there. The partner says no. But who knows how it will be? I think nobody knows.
Support from Belgium for Ukraine is also critical when it comes to frozen Russian assets, roughly two-thirds of which are held in Belgian accounts. Absent of more accommodating EU legislation, the Belgian state has no access to neither those assets nor to the proceeds of them. But for the tax money from those proceeds, the federal government has created a Ukraine fund.
But the taxation proceeds of that for 2024 will be 1.7 billion. We've always been clear from the start, any taxation on the assets, the Russian assets, it will not go into our budget. It will directly go to the Ukrainians. We've done that last year for the first time, for this year for the first time, and next year we will do it. We will do it again.
The Belgian support for Ukraine would be incomplete without a ban on Russian diamonds. And here, after months of talks on EU and G7 level, a decision is very close. It could be implemented on January the 1st, said Alexander De Croo. As Belgium is one of the biggest retail and wholesale diamond markets in the world, the country's support for a full-scale traceability system is absolutely crucial. Stefan Grobe, Euronews, Brussels.
The Institute for the Study of War states it has notably not observed any evidence and does not assess that the Kremlin supported, directed or is involved in the Hamas attacks in Israel. But the Kremlin continues efforts to maintain Russia's influence in the Middle East against the backdrop of the ongoing war in Israel. The think tank continues to assess that the Kremlin has and will continue to exploit the Hamas attacks in Israel to advance several Russian information operations about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The Kremlin appears to be promoting two parallel narratives regarding the impact of the Hamas attacks on Israel on the Russian war in Ukraine. Any future Russian activity in Ukraine will be independent of larger geopolitical events, while Western support for and attention to Ukraine will decline. And as the war in Israel is in the focus of international attention, the Institute for the Study of War says the country that may exploit the situation to advance one or more of its strategic objectives is Iran. The Institute for the Study of War compiled the list of some of Iran's strategic objectives. Now, their status and how Iran could advance. It includes the nuclear program, developing the Syrian defense industry, arms transfers with Russia, and expelling the U.S. from Syria, also in coordination with Russia. The UK Defence Ministry assesses that Russia's partnership with Iran has strengthened in recent years, almost certainly accelerated by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Iranian military aid to Russia's campaign in Ukraine has included hundreds of one-way attack uncrewed aerial vehicles and artillery munitions. They have been a core element of Russia's campaign of long-range strikes into Ukraine. The Iranian regime is categorically denying Iran's involvement in Hamas ground and air attacks against Israel. But the Institute for the Study of War states since 2014, Iran has provided extensive material and financial support to Hamas.
Herat province in western Afghanistan has been hit by a second earthquake a few days after hundreds of people died in another tremor. Both quakes measured 6.3 on the Richter scale. Initial estimates suggest 130 people were injured and one killed in the latest event. The Taliban had originally said 2,000 were killed in the first quake, but have now reduced the estimated total to over 1,000. In the region's main city, Herat, casualties from the latest earthquake have been arriving at hospitals for treatment. A second seismic event in a few days has brought a new wave of patients for doctors to treat. Their homes destroyed, many of their livestock killed, the survivors are forced to sleep in the cold. They're facing the task of rebuilding their lives as Afghanistan's winter approaches. The latest forecast from Germany's government predicts the economic powerhouse economy will shrink by 0.4% this year. Back in April, officials were predicting growth of 0.4% in gross domestic product. The economic ministry blames the energy price crisis and global economic weakness for its woes. Its estimate follows predictions from the International Monetary Fund and a group of German think tanks that the economy would shrink by 0.5% and 0.6% respectively.
Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise has been chosen by Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives to be the next Speaker. Republicans hold a majority in the chamber but are deeply divided, and Scalise will need the votes of almost all his party to secure the post. Scalise narrowly beat Jim Jordan to the nomination, despite Jordan being endorsed by Donald Trump. Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy was ousted in a right-wing push after he led Congress to pass legislation that averted a government shutdown.
Science met show business as with some fanfare, NASA revealed exciting results from its OSIRIS-REx mission. Asteroid Bennu contained water and carbon.
As both minerals and organic.
It took years to reach the asteroid, collect the sample and bring it back down to Earth, but just a fortnight to release the findings.
The sun, because things get really hot, like the Parker Solar.
Findings that could give scientists vital clues to the origin of life on Earth. Some astronomers believe particles brought to our planet by another asteroid could have enabled the first life forms to develop. For now, though, it's back to the lab with at least 2 years of tests and experiments to conduct.